Welcome to Along the Towpath. Today I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by the affable Toby Martin. Toby has got a wealth of knowledge and experience, not just the property market, but also how to present properties, create content, and help agents really shine and become the purple cow in their field. Enjoy. Toby, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Along the Towpath.
What an honour. The feet that have been down this towpath before me.
Just at least 12. Yeah. It's great to have you here, and thank you for making the trip up from Bath. So, for those who don't know, introduce yourself.
Okay.
Who are you? What's your name? Where'd you come from?
Oh yeah, I am Toby Martin, and relatively newly of We Are Unchained, Simon Ledbetter's marketing crew. A month into that. Previously, life as an agent for the last 13 years, 14 years pretty much now, until the end of last year, when I jumped the shark and came over to the world of training and consulting. And I've been doing a lot of work with video marketing and AI, and that's what's led me to my new role with Unchained, helping with content with them and their clients.
Simon Ledbetter's marketing crew. They got T-shirts with that written on it.
We should do.
You should do, or baseball caps by the very least. So 13 years in agency. So lettings predominantly.
Lettings predominantly. So prior to that, I had a career in teaching. Fell out of that, as people tend to do in that industry, with no secondary English. Okay. Secondary English, which is why I'm insufferable and often drop in Shakespeare quotes every now and then. Left with no kind of plan, no real idea of what to do with my life, other than the fact that teaching had not worked out for me. Okay. And that's when I joined a independent letting agency in Bath, at the very bottom rung of the ladder, really it was the only career prospect that I had. So it was a choice that was made by default.
So you went in as a junior
grand design. I went in as an admin assistant.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, filing and making sure that property inspections were carried out on time, and really the most junior role in the company.
Well, it's the best place to learn, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, how old were you when you did that?
Oh, about 25, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you went into a brand new career. At a stage where people have already got momentum and starting to build. So that was quite a big change for you.
Exactly. Yes. And
thank you.
as is so often the case in our world, no real intention to come into property. No grand plan. Just found myself here by default. We fall into property, don't we? More often than not.
Well, you say that. But I was talking to Chris Watkin about this, and I think there are certain people, I think the Perry Power, Megan 18, Simon Gates possibly, and a couple of others that were born into it.
A rare breed.
The rare breed,
of intentional agents. Other than those unicorns, most of us have found ourselves here by accident. That was the case with me. Yeah. But I took to it, and it had that kind of feeling of. It was an opportunity that I really needed to make the most of. It wasn't quite last chance saloon, but I trained for many years as a teacher. Yeah, that hadn't worked out, and I needed to make something work. And so I embraced it. I threw myself into it. That kind of classic old trope that we use. I treated it as though it were my own business and made myself indispensable. And because of that, happily, I started sort of climbing through the business.
Now, isn't it?
Well, that's interesting because it's a conversation I've had quite recently. I hear so many agency owners and company directors say that now, that it's not a philosophy, it's not an attitude that you see in people's work quite so much anymore. It's a generalisation, but especially people say in the younger generation. And I think there's an interesting conversation to be had about that, about modern mentalities and attitudes towards work. That's another topic entirely, but certainly when I began work, it was very much this needs to work for me. So I'm going to be the first in the office, I'm going to be the last out at the end of the day. I want to run this company.
So you really? So you went in there with that mindset.
I want to run this company in terms of actual the day-to-day
My
nuts and
behaviours.
bolts. Exactly. It wasn't until much later on that I actually started harbouring thoughts about, well, you know, I can actually lead this company. But yeah, I had that mentality that I want to make myself completely, you know, indispensable within this company. This company needs to function with me at the heart of it. Because it was, you know, for me it was a slightly desperate situation in that teaching had not worked for me, and I didn't want to be one of those people who started sort of bouncing between careers and jobs, and I needed to make something
I'm going
work.
to choose something and I'm going to own it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. I interviewed, before we started filming, I said, we've got to be careful here because there's going to be bikes, dog walkers. What I hadn't taken into account was 13 mums with double buggies, which is heading our way. So
I just clocked the buggies as well.
Brace yourself. It's
We can do
this is a first for along the towpath. I've got to be honest. How many of us can end up in the canal?
Hopefully we take no children with us. But don't worry, they're taking emergency action.
We're going
to be all right.
They're pushing the kids into the hedge.
The kids have
so
been
we'll
pushed
be
into the hedgerow, which
Yeah,
is
so-
fine by me. We take priority, Ross.
You know, we've got cameras. You know, we're going to be witnesses and everything.
Clearly they know who we are.
Exactly, that's what it is. I've seen them. Yeah. So let's just talk about that then, because that's really interesting, isn't it? That sort of ownership, that mindset. I mean, I was going to say then that we had was interviewing for a role a few years ago, and we'd interviewed two separate people, both of whom were 24,
Right.
and between them they'd had 9 different careers,
Yeah.
not jobs, career changes between them. And that's really interesting, isn't it? That
It is.
that you decided, rather than being in that position where you are right, let's try a few things and see what works. No, I'm going to pick that, I'm going to own it, I'm going to do something with it.
Yeah, and I had the feeling that it's perhaps an outdated mentality these days, because I grew up, my parents were both people who I can only remember them ever having one job. They both worked in schools. They weren't teachers, but they worked in
changing
schools.
careers was
Yeah,
probably
it was only done through
outlandish,
necessity. It was only done through redundancy, and yeah, you found a job. If it worked for you, you stuck with it. And you stuck with it for life.
Yeah. Because the job was not about satisfaction, it was about doing the thing that you can do to earn the money that you need to do for the people you're doing it for.
Exactly.
Wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It was a vehicle rather than actual, career
It was a
choice
means
and
to
lifestyle.
an end. Yeah, exactly.
Look at this. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So I'm so sorry
I feel
to
so
have
guilty.
run you off the path.
Thank you all. I've never
It's
seen
quite
so many
shameful
buggies.
in a way. I'm
Thank
just
you.
mindful now, in the background of us strolling on
We
the
just
path,
look
you're
terrible
going to
human
see
beings.
these children being dragged back onto the towpath.
Brambles and berries.
I can see the high headline now.
Nobody will ever
Chartwell
believe it,
Noble Supremo runs children off path for the sake of content.
Yeah, and helping everybody else. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've still got people. Here we go, and cyclists. Goodness me, it is busy today, isn't it? So,
It's all right. It's a nice day
hello
for
there.
it. Thank you.
So you embraced it, you chucked yourself into it, and then 13 years later, having had a successful career and doing really well at it, you decided, do you know what? It's time for me to do something a bit different.
Yeah,
Or-
that's the potted version.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
happened
not
in the
belittling those 13 years. probably.
well, what happened in the years running up to that decision was that I started to kind of put myself out there an awful lot more in terms of trying to extend my industry network, look beyond the 4 walls of my own business for inspiration from others that I could bring back to improve my company, and through that I started to work very closely with Property Mark, and that led me to really forge very close connections with other agents. And what it really made me realise, and it took me, I think, a long time to realise this, that my passion had really evolved into working with other agents,
Okay,
as opposed
that's
to
interesting.
working with landlords and tenants.
And helping them develop as an offering, or
Helping them to grow, sharing what I'd learned and what had worked for me.
individual agents or owners?
Well, both.
Both.
Yeah, both, and depending on the subject matter. And happily, more by accident than judgment, what I'd found is that my real strengths and the things that have worked so well for me within my business, what had become partially my business, were skills that actually aren't universally seen amongst other agents. And so I'd evolved certain, I sound like I'm quoting that Liam Neeson movie now, I had a certain set of skills which worked particularly well for me, but that other agents found very valuable for me to share with them. So that real passion for, and I think it kind of brought me full circle, because it does tie back in with my old teaching days, that passion for sharing knowledge, for helping others to grow in their businesses and seeing them succeed. I get an awful lot out of that. I reached a point where I realised that actually, in my day-to-day work within my agency, I was more and more frequently looking for excuses to go and help other agents.
That's interesting.
And I probably...
So naturally evolved into...
Naturally evolved, yeah. And I reached a point where I think I had to admit to myself, do you know what, actually, my passion for this is probably leading me further and further away from my own business. So I think the right thing to do for everybody is probably to make that leap and not kid myself that I can do both at once. So it was at the end of 2024 that I took what was, I can't understate or overstate the magnitude of that decision. When you've been in a role for 13 years, a comfortable employed role, and you suddenly realise that your heart is no longer in it any longer, but that the alternative...
You might still care about it, but it's
might still care.
Not
exactly.
quite the same.
Exactly. Still care about it, but it's not fulfilling you. And it's not, you find yourself taking home your reservations and your heart. So you start to harbour not quite resentment, but you just come into the office and you know that that's not where you want to be. Yeah. Truthfully,
it's not getting you as excited as the thing that you're sort of waiting till you finish that to go and do the other thing you really want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I came to the realisation that I was probably not employable, in that I kind of developed such a strong sort of self-identity in terms of what I wanted to be doing and how I wanted to be doing it, and with whom I wanted to do it, that the only real option available to me was to go out and do it on my own.
To own it. Yourself. That's really interesting. I think that the phrase, I realised I wasn't employable, I hear a lot on this towpath, whether it's on camera or otherwise, because I think it's, let's define what that is. Is it a case of I refuse to take orders anymore, or actually do I need to have the freedom to be more agile on an agenda that I have, or what do you mean by that?
For me personally, I think it really lay in the fact that I had, through my work with other agents, through my work with Property Mark, and the contact that I come into with other businesses, I'd evolved this very defined idea of how I wanted to work, the elements of my work that I really wanted to pour my time into, and how I wanted to go about doing that. And because of the nature of the business in which I worked, despite the fact that I was pretty much running it day to day, I had business partners, I had co-directors, I had other people in the business who obviously completely justifiably also had a voice. And so in that situation, there's always going to be an element of compromise. And I had done that for long enough. I'd reached the point at which I wanted to find out what would happen if I did it my way, properly. And that might have been within an agency context. I went through a process of deciding what to do next, and I looked at self-employed agency, and that was a very viable option for me. But it didn't give me what I realised that I developed that passion for, which was working agent to agent, peer to peer.
It's tying in your two careers to date, isn't it, really?
Yes. And quite honestly, the only reason I didn't leap straight into what I'm doing now is because I didn't at that point truly believe in my ability to do it, in terms of I didn't think that I necessarily had the stature, the presence in the industry to stand on my own 2 feet and go, well, I'm Toby Martin, if you want advice, come to me. Because that sounds a bit arrogant, doesn't it? It sounds a bit...
But it's not.
I didn't really have
to yourself it sounds arrogant. To us it doesn't, but in your head it does, doesn't
exactly.
it?
And I've never been that person who's very good at really pushing myself forward, which people find surprising. Because they say, well, you put yourself all over the internet, you put yourself all over LinkedIn, you're always on video. And it's very easy to confuse that with self-assurance and self-confidence. But actually, I'm doing it because I know I have to do it.
Yes.
Because it's what the role requires.
Yeah.
But you're right. It ties in with the imposter syndrome element of that.
It's I remember listening to Alex Hormozy and on his podcast saying, I'm going to butcher this, by the way. It was along. I'm not going to quote him directly. I'm saying it was along the lines of, if it becomes common sense to you, then you need to bottle it.
Yeah.
And sell it.
I like that.
Because if you're sitting there going, this is a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
To everybody else, it might not be. And with what you're saying, you were putting yourself out there in terms of making sure you're on video and all the content you were producing. You were already starting to get traction, and you were like, well, actually, this is relatively easy to me, and people are lapping it up and saying, I love what you're doing there, Toby. That's great. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because one of the themes, one of the themes that we talk about specifically on the Towpath is that transition from employed to self-employed.
Yes.
Because that's bloody hard to make the decision and then stick to it and take that first leap.
Absolutely terrifying. Yeah, absolutely terrifying. And I honestly, I don't think that I necessarily had the confidence to. I delayed it and I delayed it and delayed it as much as I possibly could. And in the end, I did it because I had to, almost. Because I realised that it was pretty much the only option left to me. For me to achieve what I wanted to do through my work, for me to work in the way that I wanted to. And I worried about all the obvious things. I worried about money. I worried if I had enough money in the bank to fund the first few months. And I just didn't really know how to judge that. Until I came to the point where, well, do you know what, I couldn't justifiably stay in my employed role any longer because I was taking it home at night and it was affecting me adversely because I knew that mentally I checked out. And I knew that the business probably wasn't getting from me what they deserved. Yeah. So it almost became like a default decision. I had no other option.
At that point, you were at the end of that journey, and you had to make the next step.
And I fully admire people who proactively take that jump for themselves, and who for whom it's a calculated decision. For me, it was the right decision, but I waited until I pretty much had no alternative. Yeah. And then it happened by default. Yeah, happily, people started calling me and asking me to work with me, asking me for training or consulting or whatever it might be. And I realised one day, kind of almost by default, well, I guess I'm doing this now. It has happened.
That's really interesting. It's very similar to Simon Gates's journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sort of, well, do I do this? And then you realise, actually, the minute I announce it, people are like, I need you in my life. I need more of you, please. So that's great because that's immediate validation and it's confirmation that you haven't made a mistake. Yes. But really early on, isn't it?
And it's I appreciate it. It's incredibly easy to say, I wish I'd done it sooner. And when I was sort of mulling over this decision and agonising late night at home, the number of people who said to me, your wish that you'd done this sooner, go for it. You should, and it is so difficult to take that advice because you always think, what if? What if no one calls me? What if the phone never rings? What if I'm 6 months down the line and I haven't earned a bean?
And do you know, it is difficult. And I say to the guys and girls who work with us, there's going to come a point where you go, I've made a terrible mistake because I've got nothing. Yeah. And nothing in the pipeline. And then all of a sudden it'll happen. Yeah. Or if it doesn't all of a sudden happen, we sit down and we work out how we make it happen quick. And, there is nerves just kick in, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. But I think certainly within agency, there's never been a time when self-employment has been more accessible and more supported. And I think it shouldn't feel like such a precipice any longer. I think that self-employment no longer has to be truly on your own. Yes. And that's obviously been the case for me now. I've had a year working completely solo with no safety net. And joining Unchained is not so much a safety net. Yeah. But the way we work at Unchained, we are still effectively self-employed. We work for ourselves, but we work as a team. And so having that support network, having that infrastructure of a team in a self-employment setting is so valuable.
Yeah, it's sort of, well, you're grown-ups, aren't you? you know,
That's
you're not being managed.
precisely the
You're
words
you're
that
brought
Simon's
in
used
to
with me, yeah.
you're being brought in to,
Yeah.
to actually contribute, not just to be told what to do. It's the Steve Jobs thing, isn't it? You know, we
Yes.
hire good people so they can tell us what to do, not the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's move that on then. So that's really interesting, and that sort of journey and that step into. Thank you for going through that, because it's very relatable, I think.
Yeah.
Just because it's a different area of the industry doesn't mean it's not relatable to those who are in it and going on the self-employed journey. So, okay, let's drill down on what you're doing now then. So
Yes.
I want to talk about AI, and we're going to get there because
Excellent.
we love it, and you
Okay.
and we geek out on it all the time. It's all good. So, but with what you're doing now, you are the Chief Content Officer.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Simon's given me a fancy title.
It's very impressive.
Because he knew that would help seal the deal.
Did that come on a t-shirt?
Definitely. I've got it on a big foam finger.
So what is that? What is a Chief Content Officer? What is it? What's your job, and what are you doing, and how's it going to help people?
I'm a bit of an anomaly at Unchained in that my background has been agency, and I've joined a troupe of dyed-in-the-wool marketers, and not just Simon, the rest of the team as well come from incredibly strong marketing backgrounds, and Simon used a turn of phrase when he announced my joining Unchained, which was he said it as I was a new breed of marketer.
Oh, goodness.
And I was trying to decide whether that was a backhanded
I was going to say,
compliment
is
or
that
not.
flattering or not?
He's not one of us. But I appreciate actually what he means by that, which is that we bandy around the word content a lot these days. And when you're talking about social media, the word content gets used an awful lot. It's funny, actually, just earlier this morning I was saying to somebody, bizarrely, it's in my job title, but I don't really like the word content very much, because to me it implies filler and fluff.
Yeah.
Just get some content out there.
Yeah.
But my
column inches and that sort of thing, isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
Just post something.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
post something.
yeah.
That's very much not the intention.
No.
So my role at Unchained is to take what I've kind of organically learned through my experience in promoting my old agency, which is that I really dive very deep into the world of video marketing, personality-led marketing, really trying to, the whole personal brand side of things.
Yep.
Trying to promote the individual and the personality within the business. And the main way that I like to do that is through video. Obviously, there's lots of different ways as well. But I think that my journey Unchained was recognition from Unchained that that's an ingredient that perhaps Unchained would welcome more. They've got all of the science behind the marketing.
Yes,
They've
the
got all of the
data-led,
data, the research. They've got phenomenal graphic design. They've got a wonderful team. And I think that what I bring is almost a little bit of a wild card ingredient.
Okay.
It's that I'm quite happy to do something a bit different online, to do something to stand out from the crowd, to get my face out there on camera, to make sure that what I'm doing is not the same as what everyone else is doing. And I think that that's really refreshing. So my main responsibility is to make sure that our content is not just content.
Yes.
It's carefully positioned, targeted, well-researched marketing materials that really make a difference compared to what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that our own and our clients' marketing is full of personality, full of difference, and that it really speaks to their target audience.
Okay, so give us some examples then. What would you do? Let's use Chartwell Noble as an example, shall we? What would you do? What are we talking about? Do you use any insert name of a state agency
Yeah.
here?
Well, I'll take you back to my old agency days, and my and you could apply that to Chartwell Noble. I think you could apply it to anybody. But my basic starting position is always right. First of all, bad news for all you agents out there. It's not about you. We're quite obsessed with promoting ourselves, and
it's not about that.
Sorry, Ross. It's not. Nobody gives us stuff.
Hours I've spent up and down this towpath, Toby.
It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not even about Chartwell Noble, I'm afraid. It is to a limited extent, but we do love to concentrate on ourselves, and this is why you should come to us. This is our key services. This is our Google review rating. These are our awards. So, to start off with, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer, because that's who is most important to us here.
Yep.
We want more customers, we want more clients, and what do they really care about? What are their priorities? What are their pain points, frustrations? What are the common misconceptions? What are the questions that they always ask? And so my approach at my old agency, which proved to work very well, was address all of those concerns, all of those questions, answer all of those queries through your marketing. So concentrate slightly less on advertising. You do need to do it, but accompany that with what we call sort of long-term marketing, brand building, trust building. Position yourself as your area's go-to expert, and fill your social media feeds, and not just social media, other channels as well, with value, guidance, expertise. Demonstrate just how valuable you are to the client, just how much guidance
authority
you can impart.
content and
authority, sort of consumer advice almost.
Yeah.
You consider Martin Lewis, just how he has become the go-to authority on anything to do with finance and consumer advice.
So give us some examples then of who's doing that well at the moment.
Who's doing it well at the moment? I'm doing it very well, Ross.
You are doing extremely well. I mean, you found yourself here. I mean,
Well, look,
brilliant. Well done.
I'm sure there are other people doing it far better than me. But I think that in the world of agency, to be honest with you, there are people who are doing it very well. And let me think, some of the agents who really put themselves out there and give good, honest advice on camera. Holly Price, self-employed agents who I think is great, up in York. She mixes up her social media with, the listings and the video tours, with also some kind of slightly more personality-filled behind the scenes, lots of bloopers, make people laugh.
The actual person rather than...
Exactly right, and she mixes that with good sort of consumer advice as well. So I mean, that's one example.
Well, you become relatable and likable and authority, and it's all things. Then the person, you get to know the person before you meet the person at that point, don't you?
Oh, that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because this is what this all leads up to. It's building two things before you even meet the person. It's building trust, because you have already got value and expertise from them. So you've almost built a debt there, because you've already helped and guided them. And it's building familiarity. We don't want, on the day we go for a market appraisal or a sales appointment, whatever industry you're in, you don't want to arrive a stranger. I use an analogy quite a lot, which is like a speed dating analogy, where imagine you've got 1 minute with all of the potential clients in your area, and you've got 60 seconds with each of them to try and leave an impression. But all of your competitors, all of the local agents also have that 60 seconds. So what will you do to try and make sure that you're the one who they swap numbers with at the end of the evening? And then the result of that is it's a trick question. It's a trick question because you should already be familiar with them. They should already know you. You shouldn't be having a cold start. And if all of your other local competitors are all starting that relationship cold, having to introduce themselves, having to explain who they are and what they do, then if you've already done that through your marketing, through your video, you've got a massive head start on them. So yes, absolutely. That's where it's all leading. All of that guidance and expertise that you're imparting is very much making sure that you've evolved a relationship with the customer before you even meet them.
Yeah, you're not cold as you walk through the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's drill down on that a little bit further then. So we're talking about creating authority content, being more personal, and breaching that sort of initial first impression, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want the ultimate desire is to make sure that when that person meets you, they feel they already know you.
Well, I think if you asked a great many agents this question, I'd be interested in their answer. So when does the customer make their decision over which agent to instruct? You'd be tempted to think, well, it's after the market appraisal. That's a tiny part of it. By the time they meet you for the market appraisal, they are typically up to 70% of the way through their decision. based on all
really
of the
interesting.
information that they've already collected. Consumers these days are very...
So the other people are there for balance and for spreading it just in case the person that turns up is a dinosaur or a monster.
We want to feel like we're making a well-informed decision. We
Yeah.
don't want to feel sold to. And based on all of the information that is so freely available online now, we want to feel in control of our own decisions. We do the same whenever we buy a washing machine, an air fryer, a car.
We've already made the decision that's
Yeah.
going to be the most likely for me.
Very rarely will we just go into Currys and say, which is your best air fryer, and then pick it off the shelf.
Yeah, I've seen somebody using a Ninja,
Yeah.
and I've seen the adverts, so therefore I'm likely to go to that one first. Talk me out of it.
So there's this,
Yeah.
if you think of the sales funnel now, top of the funnel, you have all of your potential customers, and bottom of the funnel is the customer who actually comes to you. The middle of that funnel, Google came up with a really, I love the name they gave that middle of the funnel period, which they call the messy middle, because it's a phase in which the customer goes here, there, and everywhere
Has the
looking for
options and-
information.
yeah.
Yeah, they'll go to Google reviews, Amazon reviews, blogs, newspaper columns, local radio stations, word of mouth, social media, websites, huge number of different sources that feed into their perceptions, their opinions, and ultimately their decision.
Got you.
And so, by the time we actually cross their threshold and arrive in their home, a huge amount of factors have already fed into their opinion
So
of
you can
you.
be as charming as you like,
Yeah.
but actually, if you haven't breached that trust barrier or that likability factor,
Yeah.
you're on the back foot.
You could be. And so I think the question for me is that whether you're the kind of person who wants to put yourself out on social media or not, social media, website, blog, wherever, whether you're someone who wants to promote your own personality or wants to kind of hide further in the background, by the time you arrive for the market appraisal, the client has formed an opinion of you. And so the question is, do you want to be involved in forming that opinion, or do you want to leave it to fate?
Yeah.
Because if you don't feed them, like lay a
You do have
breadcrumb
control.
trail,
You have more control of influence prior to the appointment than ever
you
before.
choose what you put out there. And if you're very proactive about it, and if you put out all of this value-led, expertise-led information, if you give lots of value, and if you put out a certain portrayal of yourself, I'm not saying a false impression, I'm saying an honest, open, approachable impression of yourself through your social media channels, on your website, in your blog, lots of video content, then you're going to give them, it's like laying a breadcrumb trail to your door.
Yeah.
You're going to give them
Like that.
all the material they need in order to arrive at the opinion that you want them to arrive at.
Yeah, so
and if you don't do that, you're just leaving it to chance.
Yeah, I like that. That's giving it's a predefined path, isn't it? So
Yeah.
what's a non-negotiable then? What now, as an estate agent, to get yourself in that position,
Yep.
what's a non-negotiable? What have you got to do from your perspective?
Well, I mean, I don't think everyone would agree with me on this, but I'm going to say
Well, we like controversial. It's all good.
you should get on camera. I really do feel that very strongly. And yeah, I personally would say it's a non-negotiable. A lot of people would say, well, look, I don't want to get on camera, but I do a whole load of other things, and that makes up for it. We do other forms of marketing. But, okay, if we take that 70% statistic, so by the time you arrive for the appointment, the customer's already 70% of the way through their decision, and you couple that with a couple of other things. So where's your customer going for all of this information? Well, the vast majority of it is they're looking online for all this information. And what do people do online? Well, 82% of all internet traffic is people watching video. It's what we do. If you sit down on the sofa at night and you open up a social media app, the chances are you'll be watching a video within seconds.
And is that because they absorb it better, or is that because it's being rammed down our throats nowadays?
Both.
Or a bit of both?
It's being rammed down our throats because we absorb it better. But we learn better from video. We absorb more information from video than just reading still images. Video social media posts are 12 times more likely to be shared on social media than text and image posts combined. The platforms
really interesting.
promote them better, they're just better received, more frequently shared by users. So my point here is that in terms of it being a non-negotiable to get onto camera, I think when you become a business owner or a manager, or even when you just take a job in a estate agency, you take on a commitment, which is a commitment to meet the customer where they are. We have to know and understand consumer needs and preferences, and if we're doing our marketing right, we feed into those preferences by coming to the customer. So what we know is that people are doing an awful lot of research on social media, and when they're on social media, they like to consume video. And if that's where the customer is, I don't think it's good enough for us to sit back and go, okay, I understand that's what they want, but I don't like doing it. So I'm not going to do it, and they can come to me. They can consume the information that I want to put out there, the way that I want to do it.
It's like you're choosing not to open on a Saturday because you don't want to do it on a Saturday. So it's like, well, actually, this is where the audience is. This is where your customers are. This is where the customer behaviour is. You need to make sure you're in front of them, right?
Yeah. We can't expect customers to adapt their way of doing things, their preferred ways of consuming information, to meet our preferences, just because we don't like getting on camera, or we feel that we don't have time to do it, or we don't really know how to do it. You've got to overcome those hurdles, because this is the way, and it's only going to become increasingly so where you look at the younger generations and how they consume information. And this preference for video is only going to become increasingly pronounced over time. So you might as well get on board with it now.
And let's be honest, I mean, we did just off camera just laugh now about how you can use an iPhone. You don't necessarily need the £500,000 lens that comes with it for a feature movie, but you can get yourself a £100, £150 gimbal with a microphone set up, which you can actually do something relatively decent. I mean, the tools out there, they're all there. So for a couple £100 with your iPhone, actually. Absolutely.
The question
You've got a reasonably professional setup.
You can, and pretty much all of the video that I do is using mobile phones. And for social media, maybe on your website you'd want a lovely cinematic, professionally shot video. Maybe for your properties, for the listings. Your own social media output and the videos that you can put on your website blogs, on your website landing pages, all of that material can easily be created with an iPhone, with a £20 to £100 microphone, with a £20 tripod. If you don't have good lighting, you can buy some LED lights off Amazon for about 30-40 quid. It's so easy to do. CapCut, the editing software, 10 quid a month. We all spend it on Canva. Why don't we spend it on CapCut? So it's so accessible, and the ROI is phenomenal, because we're making these materials almost free of charge. And you don't have to spend anything to do it, but it makes such an impact on the audience to actually have you speaking directly to them down the lens of the camera.
In their home.
In their home.
Before you've been invited
Absolutely, which is why, I think I said earlier on that it's not all about social media. You look at the market appraisal process, embedding videos within your market appraisal process. The Akaboom type things, introducing yourself before you arrive on the day. Not just that though, if you're filming a really good detailed monthly market update report, which agents should be doing once a month, then have a step in your market appraisal process where you send that to them on WhatsApp with a message saying, just before we meet next week, I thought this latest market update report would be really valuable to you.
Somebody described WhatsApp to me about 18 months, 2 years ago as the new social media, and I did not get it at all. And I thought, all right, well, that's just somebody trying to make a noise for themselves to, come up with something to say. But actually, it is, isn't it? WhatsApp now, you are now able to communicate directly with people. So if somebody's inviting you out, or you've got their data somehow, you have the ability to record a video and send it to them as a market update, you're directly in front of them. It's free.
And you cannot ignore
Never
a WhatsApp.
in the history of agency have we had the accessibility that we've got right now.
I defy you to leave a WhatsApp unread. Open rates are about 98%. Versus emails, which are 20 to 25%. You can see it. And there's something curious about WhatsApp. If we receive an SMS, an old-fashioned SMS on our phone, you can quite easily ignore that and leave it unread, because you get a lot of marketing, a lot of you put your phone number in somewhere that you shouldn't have done online. You'll get, I do that a lot, and you get inundated with text messages. When you pay for parking in a public car park, you'll get an SMS reminding you when your ticket's about to run out.
So it becomes an alert rather than a message to inform.
It's just drivel. You get drivel on SMSs, but WhatsApps are personal because we have our friends and our families in our WhatsApp address books, and we tend to treat them in a much more
people you trust.
Exactly, people you trust. So every WhatsApp message you receive, you do read. So if you send someone a market update video on WhatsApp, the chances are they're going to look at it. And then again, it's a touch point. The whole 7-11-4 principle, going back to Google again.
Just explain that in a bit of detail.
I mentioned the messy middle. Same piece of research by Google found that before a customer feels ready to make a purchase from a business, they need to consume 7 hours of your media across 11 different touch points. So that's non-exclusive. So a touch point might be they look at your social media, they look at your website, they speak to you on the phone, then they go back to your social media. So that's 4 separate touch points in 4 unique locations. So the market appraisal, your Google reviews, your website, your social media. Once they've consumed that
information,
information,
direct mail, and all the other accessible touch points that we all have.
Any of them, absolutely, yeah. Doesn't have to be online. It can be, the market appraisal would be a touch point. When they call you on the phone is a touch point. So anytime they bump up against you, basically, either virtually or in person, and that's when they feel. And it ties into that messy middle idea where we're going out, we're looking for information, we're absorbing it all until we feel that we're ready to make a decision on our own terms, so that we don't feel that someone's just sold a product to us. We feel, actually, I now have enough information to make a well-informed, balanced decision. So, the more you do videos in your market appraisal process, you could have 2 in the lead up to a market appraisal. You could have an introduction saying, hello, I'm Toby, I'm the person who's going to be meeting you on Tuesday. Just thought I'd introduce myself, here's what we're going to be doing on the day. And then you could have another one a couple of days prior saying, I thought you might like to know what's going on in the local market. Here's a quick 3-minute video.
This has just sold, or that's just happened. This has got planning permission. They've painted their door red.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. So there's 2 touch points already. And couple that with the fact that they would have Googled you, they would have looked at your website, your social media feeds, they would have read your Google reviews. You start to get towards those 11 touch points. So the more you can feed in, the better. But video is such a more personal way to do that.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so I want to move on. Very quickly, I want to talk about AI.
Hooray, at last. You say there. Quickly.
We got there.
There's an awful lot to discuss here.
So let's talk AI.
Okay,
go on. Does it need an introduction? It doesn't, does it really?
Every time I've spoken about AI recently, and I've even put this on my opening slide whenever I do a presentation on it, I have 2 words, which are mind blown. And I know that we're kind of all accustomed to talking about AI now, and some people I speak to have kind of AI apathy, and I hear so much about it, can we all just move on and start talking about AI? But I frequently have my mind blown on 2 different levels. One, by the capabilities of the technology, which just constantly we're finding new ways to use it, new ways to embed it in our day-to-day work. But secondly, my mind is blown so frequently by the number of people who I still interact with, who might be business leaders, they might be industry leaders, they might be junior negs, anybody who has not yet embraced AI.
I mean, it's fairly fresh, but it's everywhere, so how can you avoid it?
ChatGPT has been in existence since 2022. I take life advice from ChatGPT. It is the only 3-year-old in the world that I take life advice from.
So it isn't about Frozen or is it?
Sure. Well, still sometimes, but it's like it is still fresh. But the abilities of what you can do with AI are just enormous, and I cannot comprehend why everyone is not on board with this. And I get carried away.
Why do you think that is?
Okay, so it's either because we're scared of it. We are fearful that if we put too much information into it, it will make us obsolete.
And you're empowering it, and
you're empowering it, you're training it, you're sharing data with it. And so it's either that, or it is that we simply don't know where to start because there is so much going on. There is so much information. There's so many different platforms out there.
Yes.
That simply, how do I get going? Or it's that perception that it's somehow cheating. That, you know, if I use AI to help me draft an email, then that is unacceptable. That is a cheat. And so dealing with them one by one. So first of all, if we find it scary, then in a way you should do, because that you can achieve so much with AI, but 3/4 of the UK population have had no form of training in how to use it. So we're trying to use a supercomputer that can pretty much change the course of the world, but we're trying to do it without reading the instruction manual. And so it's no wonder you don't feel confident to do it. There's only one kind of person who tries to use a supercomputer without properly using the manual, and that's Bond villains. And that's why they never manage to kill James Bond.
There, yeah.
Exactly. They can't quite comprehend how to work the laser properly. So don't be a Bond villain. You've got to learn it. You can't just expect to turn up to whichever platform it is, ChatGPT or whatever, and be an expert on it on day one. So there has to be a learning curve. And that ties in with the second point, not really knowing where to begin. You need to begin by learning. This is a technological evolution of enormous proportions. And so there has to be a learning curve. We have to learn how to do this. We can't just bluff our way through it. If you want to be properly expert in anything, you have to learn it.
I think it's that shift, isn't it, where people are sitting there going, well, it's just another thing. It really isn't.
No.
It really, really isn't. This is industrial revolution size.
Yeah.
This is the invention of the internet. This is seismic.
You can use it as just another thing.
And we're at the beginning of this.
Quite. It will never be worse than it is today. It will only improve and improve and improve. So you can approach it like it's just the next gizmo, but then your use of it will be dramatically limited. And then that third reason that it's cheating, which it's interesting actually, since becoming self-employed and working in different environments, I found myself in some offices where if I want to work in ChatGPT, I feel instinctively I need to go and shut myself in a private office so no one sees me doing that. Because there'll be a perception that, well, they're paying me for a day's work.
It's not really you then, is it?
Well, they're paying me for a day's work and he's just going to use ChatGPT. That's cheating.
So I've got a question for you. Is a farmer using a tractor cheating?
Yeah, he should be ploughing it he should have a scythe.
Where's your shire horse? What are you doing?
And is someone doing sums using a calculator cheating? Are we cheating when we do a Google search? And I get that there is always going to be a phase in which it takes time for people to embrace new change and new technology. But it's quite clear that AI is not going back in the box.
No.
So if you're turning a blind eye to it, we spoke earlier about that there still being a perception of there being a gotcha moment. You know, I think you've used ChatGPT to do that. Caught you. It's not a gotcha. If you're not, I am. Why are you not? You're literally making life harder for yourself.
I think that's the clincher, isn't it?
Yeah.
I am.
Absolutely.
And if you're not,
but
you're
the
going to
key
be left
is,
behind.
I am using it, but I'm also using it in a well-informed, responsible,
and that's the key,
intelligent way.
That's the key.
Where I'm not allowing ChatGPT to run
be
my
the
business
authority
for me. Exactly.
And be the decision maker.
And I say to people, there's a very important distinction between ensuring that ChatGPT sounds like you and making sure that you don't start sounding like ChatGPT. You need to teach ChatGPT your business, your values, your tone of voice, how your company operates, and when it has learned all that information, you can start to seamlessly blend it into your work. If it sticks out like a sore thumb, then that is a bit of a problem.
I was at the Property Academy all members meeting conference a few weeks ago, and there was a gentleman there on stage talking about all things AI, and he was fascinating. And I'm going to butcher this as well. And he said something along the lines of that AI should be used to do mundane jobs for creative people, not do creative jobs for mundane people.
Yeah.
I thought that was wonderful. He probably got AI to phrase that for him, to be perfectly honest, because he was so eloquently
put. If he did, I admire him wholeheartedly.
It's great, isn't it? Self-selling and all that. But I thought that was so wonderfully phrased that if you are allowing it to do the creative jobs for you, then actually you're going to lose your personality and your identity in that. If you're allowing it to do the mundane jobs, which is actually not the thinking, because if we outsource the thinking, we become stupid, or we lose the power of being able to do it. But if you use it as a tool that allows you to build frameworks to not shortcuts, but more efficient, then surely that's using it in the right way, isn't it?
Absolutely. I don't know if you've seen it. There's been these graphics going around social media lately, which is like an illustration of the human brain, and it's this is what the human brain looks like when you don't use ChatGPT, and it's glowing, it's lit up like New York at night. And this is what your brain looks like when you do use ChatGPT, and there's like a candle lit flame in the middle of it. And, ChatGPT is ruining our brains, and it very much comes down to the way in which you use it. You have to use AI with intention and purpose and intelligence, and it ties back into the whole education. We have to learn how that's done. We have to learn how not to lose our voice and our personalities.
Yes.
A stolen quote, and I mentioned it to you earlier, the challenge in the age of AI is to come across as more human than ever before. As technology grows and becomes ever more unescapable, we will instinctively be more drawn to those people who really come across as human and relatable and have personalities that we can connect to. So we have to make sure that we don't lose that.
And I think that's really important, isn't it? Because AI is becoming obvious.
And we're becoming
in the
attuned
written content,
to it.
as we said.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're becoming more and more attuned to it. We've all probably looked at something and gone, I can see the M dashes, and I can see it's got a Z in personalised. And
perfect
the Americanisms.
use of an emoji.
Yes, or the abnormally frequent use of rocket emojis, and we're all kind of trained to it now. And in some ways, I almost. It's a double-edged thing, because I think we maybe even start to spot it now in places where it's not been used.
Yes.
But we're all so attuned to it that the challenge is now to make sure that our use of AI is seamless and it blends in, and it's indistinguishable from ourselves.
I think that we were discussing the sort of two versions of it, but the two. Or the current versions, insofar as that the written word, the content that is written down and we can read, and as you say, the M dashes and the emojis and all that sort of thing that we can spot a mile off now, and the slightly odd use of bold in random places to really accentuate a point or something along those lines. And then you also have, in addition to that, the video.
Yes.
Which is really exciting, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, it's a bit scary.
It is extraordinary, and it's scary the rate at which it is evolving. Literally just this morning, I was watching a video of OpenAI have announced the release of Sora 2, which is a major upgrade to the ChatGPT video generation platform, which is, I think, now meant to be a big rival to Google's Veo 3, which was previously the most exciting.
Yes.
And so now both of those platforms...
race, isn't it?
It is an absolute arms race. Both of those platforms can now produce lifelike videos with sound and speech, basically movies. And so it's an arms race, not just for which platform is going to produce the best kind of video, but also who's going to use that in the most creative, brilliant way. These tools that we're being armed with, if we ignore them, if we don't make the most of them, then someone else will.
Because we all see on social media the elderly people doing very funny things, and the kids saying funny things, and the animals, the gorillas running through the forest making the tourists jump and all that sort of stuff. We've seen those. So what's next?
What's next in terms of video is using those tools to connect more with your audience. Because we can make viral videos and we can make funnies, and it's enjoyable to play around with it in that way. But it allows us to make cinematic quality promotional videos that will really be targeted to our audience, and also it will save us so much time. We mentioned earlier about the importance of getting yourself on camera. Something I've been really reluctant to advise people to do in the past has been to consider using platforms like HeyGen that have AI avatars where you create an AI version of yourself and just feed a script in. Because in the past they've been inauthentic,
Yeah.
they've been a little bit uncanny, not quite right. Now they're reaching a
An
point.
estate agent being insincere on a video. I don't believe it. So,
Unnatural.
Unnatural,
Yeah,
yeah.
unnatural. Insincere is a different issue. But, you know, it's clearly been AI generated.
Yeah.
Whereas now, HeyGen have recently upgraded their video engine, and the avatars that they produce now, literally, I've played them to audiences I've spoken to. And the first time I did it under the pretense of saying, look, this is what this looks like now, and this is why I don't think you should use it, because it doesn't quite look lifelike. And I played the clip of which I'd made of me, like with a script I'd fed into it, and I reached the end of the clip and someone said, hang on, was that AI?
So using it as an example of what not
It completely backfired on me, yeah.
Well, that was a bad version.
So now I do,
Wow.
instead I play it and I say to people, do you think that was AI or not?
Wow.
And genuinely, people are struggling to tell the difference.
That's extraordinary.
So there is increasingly a place for AI video in marketing. I would not want anyone to rely on it. I'd like it to be a healthy mix of authentic video with AI video. But again, if we're ignoring these things, we're only shooting ourselves in the foot, because it's going to save us time that we can be spending talking to people on phones, doing the human-to-human interactions that you still need within a business.
Yeah.
But if AI can buy us more time to do things that we want to do in person, then we should, of course, make the most of that.
It's outsourcing the job,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Okay, so video, that's really exciting. The fact that we can create video in a new way, we can outsource that, can't we? So as we've just said, in terms of, whilst I'm plugging that in and sending it off there, I can make some phone calls and do some prospecting.
Yeah.
But for those who genuinely, Toby, are, you're never going to convince everybody, we know that, but for those who are genuinely reluctant, because it is scary, and especially for those of us who've grown up with Terminator 2, let's be honest, it's a thing, isn't it? But listen, nobody knew what the word self-aware were before that came out, and now everybody knows what it is. But with that specific concern that people have, I don't trust it, I don't like it, it's not authentic, it's not me. This is supposed to be about me in an age where we're supposed to be wanting to try and command higher fees and therefore be more relatable. What would you say to them?
Okay, well, their concerns, I understand they're valid. There is a quote from Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT, and he once said, AI will probably one day lead to the end of the world. But until then, there'll be great businesses. So my challenge is, I love that quote. It's bleak,
amazing.
It's dystopian, but the point still stands. Even if one day we are all overrun by Terminators, we have a window of time in which we can build fantastic businesses.
At least I've got a business account full of money that I can't get to anymore.
Yeah, but interestingly, so at the end of last year, the UK government carried out a survey of the UK population, and one of the questions was, summarise how you feel about AI in one word.
Terrified.
And the number one word was scary.
Scary, there you go.
And in fact, in the top 12 words, there was only one unequivocally positive word, which was good, which was the most excited we could get about this groundbreaking, world-changing technology.
On the scale of terrified to horrified.
I'll stay with good. So I think that to those people, I would say, your feelings are actually pretty widespread. However, wherever AI leads us, it is definitely never going to disappear. It's not going back in the bottle. And so you have an opportunity to either be one of the businesses that adopts it and benefits from everything that brings, freeing up your time. Let's face it, in reality, probably decreasing your wage bill, because it's probably going to replace some people. Devoting your time towards the more productive jobs, the ones that actually earn business for you. And also just improving the standard of your work, because no matter how good you are, everybody has weak spots.
Yes.
And AI is brilliant at filling those in. So if you're not using AI, you're not saving yourself time, you're not improving the quality of your work. Why would you not want to do that? even if it does one day lead to the end of the world.
Hey, look, was it if you live next door to somebody who's having a party every night, you might as well go and join in
the
because you're going to get any sleep, are you? So, yeah, I think that's fascinating. It's a great, probably a great end to that specific topic, because I think you're right. Even if it does end that way, who knows?
It's probably beyond your and my control.
One thing is, absolutely, but one thing that is within your control is that it will lead to the end of your business if you don't adopt it.
Yeah.
Because you will be left behind by those who do. Is that fair?
I believe so. I believe so. And I think that will probably happen more quickly than we all believe, more quickly than we realise. Yeah. Because those businesses who are adopting it are adopting it fast and doing a hell of a lot with it. And so, yeah, if you're choosing not to do that, then all power to you. But you're choosing the hard road, the hard path. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right then, Toby, what is your controversial opinion that you don't share very often,
okay,
that you try not to get out there, about the estate agency industry, that you're going to share with us today?
Can I tell you about an argument that I recently had with my new business partner, Simon Ledbetter?
Oh, please do. Yes.
Which will feed into this very nicely. So I recently said something on another podcast, which I came to regret because Simon vehemently disagreed with it.
Oh, right.
And that was he actually said that if I said it again on this podcast, he would probably be here and jump out of the bushes and shove me into the canal.
Well, tonight, Matthew.
So the words that I said on that podcast is every estate agent is a marketer. And now, funnily enough, Simon and I actually agree on this, because the words that I said were not quite actually what I intended. So I'm going to clarify this now. So my unpopular opinion is that every estate agency at some point has to promote their own business. They're responsible for finding new clients, increasing the profile of their business locally, nationally, whatever. But the people who are doing that quite frequently don't know anything about marketing whatsoever. So while some people often find themselves in the position of a marketer, they should be leaving that to someone who actually knows how to do it. So not everybody is a marketer.
iPhones, Canva,
exactly.
ChatGPT, yeah.
And this brings me back to what I was saying earlier about the difference between content and marketing. If you are just putting stuff out there, you're not getting your job done. You need to put stuff out there that hits your market, that speaks to your audience, that is well positioned, that is on brand, that actually converts into business. A daily social media post is not marketing, it's content for the sake of content. So yes, whilst everybody in estate agency may believe that they're a marketer, what they're actually doing,
because they have access to tools that enable them,
they're creating content. Marketing is carefully, precisely calculated, scientifically backed calculations that lead to the growth of your business through your self-promotion.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I'm a believer. I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that said that we're all media businesses in some fashion or other. Now you've just got to choose what you're going to be selling through media. And we recognise that actually. Well, look what we're doing here, you know, and look at how we market our properties and how we promote our business and how we encourage our agents to do it, is that actually you've got to present yourself in a different way now. Yes.
And I think that the source of the clash between me and Simon was that the semantics of that, the choice of wording. You know, if you take that quote, every company is a media company, or everybody's a marketer. You only get to call yourself a marketer, or you only get to call yourself a media company if you have the credentials that go with it. You can't just appoint yourself a media company.
Yes.
Now you've become a media company because you've got experts in that field who know exactly how to do it, who know the right equipment to you know how to edit.
Exceptional
experts.
Toby, he stood right here.
Leaders in their field. and so, yeah, you can call yourself a media company. And by the same token, you can only truly call yourself a marketer if you have the expertise, the experience, the knowledge, the tools to back that up. So Yes. So this section is partly an apology to Simon for using a phrase
not
that
controversial.
truly triggered him. But secondly, also to back up that point that yes, every agency is responsible for promoting themselves in some ways, but you can only really call it marketing if it is marketing. Otherwise, it's just content.
It's a science, marketing.
Yeah. So I
isn't it?
hear.
Yeah. So I'm informed. Data led and people so rarely think it's about numbers, but
Absolutely.
it is all about numbers, isn't it?
And that learning for me has been enormous. Coming from a non-marketing background into marketing, so yeah, I was one of those people who ran a medium-sized independent agency, and I was one of those people who thought, right, well, I'm doing the marketing, and often until I really learned what to do, I was not doing marketing.
No.
I was just churning out content. And so really appreciating, learning from the likes of Simon, his 30 years in marketing course, or doing the mini MBA in marketing, which I did earlier this year, learning the science behind it, learning the calculations, the data, the sums that equate to a successful campaign. It is so much more than a Canva template.
Absolutely.
It is a science, and that is the difference between your self-promotion being an investment or it being a waste of your time.
There we go. Lovely. So an apology to Simon Ledbetter. That's a controversial moment.
Sorry, Simon.
Lovely, great stuff. Toby, thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
That was
Thank you so
exceptional,
much.
as expected. So thank you so much for that. And
Great
we look
pleasure
forward
to have trodden the famous
the
Towpath.
famous Towpath. Well, we look forward to seeing what comes next because I've got a feeling it might be very exciting.
It certainly will be.